Welcome back to our second Mini Academy virtual coaching session. This time we're going to be looking at marking up. So we're going to be looking at marking up both in the area and in midfield. So Jack, what would you say the basics are for marking up?
So the key to marking up, the first thing you've got to make sure you do is you get your horse's shoulder in front of the other horse's shoulder. That's where you get that real position of strength, and then you can start to control where they go. And you see here the Kellen number 3 does a good job of that on the Kent number 3 to block them from getting down to the area, gets his horse's shoulder in front and holds her up nicely.
So Chris, how does marking up in the area differ to when you're in midfield?
Oh, thanks for your question, Izzy. I do a lot of marking up in my time to time as a one. But from what I understand, what people try and do is they try and stay between them and the goal. So as we see, the Kelly number 3 here does a really good job of keeping the Kent number 1's horse from actually pointing directly at the goal. So if you can keep your horse between them and the goal, and keep that number 1 from pointing head on at the goal, is usually a pretty good tip.
What would you say the Kent players do well here, Jack?
So in this clip, we see the Kellen number 1 take the 10-yard throw, and as he tries to head downfield, the Kent number 1 comes in nicely here and puts a bit of contact, gets the shoulder in front, and just holds the line nicely. And as he comes down to the area, the Kellen player, the Kent 3 comes in and takes over that position, holding the Kellen player and pushing him into the corner, trying to keep him away from the goal.
In attack from that last video, what could the Kent players have done better, Chris?
So in the last video, we saw the Kent players defending, and they weren't defending downfield. And what I mean by that, as we see here from the Kellen team, is when the Kellen number 1 has the ball, we actually see their players marking up downfield between the Kent players and the goal they're shooting. So as the Kellen number 1 goes past with the ball, they get a nice easy bounce to the line and no one's near them.
In conclusion, what would you guys say is the most important thing when marking up both in the area and in midfield?
To start off with, I'd say you've always got to make sure you get your horse's shoulder in front of the horse you're trying to mark up's shoulder. Without that, you're never going to be able to ride them off effectively.
My point would be, as a number 3, which I play regularly, is making sure that number 1 never points directly at the goal. So keeping between them and the goal.
For me, the last takeaway would be to keep between the goals and the person you're marking up. Thanks very much for watching. Thanks very much for that, Chris. And hopefully we'll see you again next time where we will be covering area work.